We're in 83. Amar hechaver, says the rabbi.
45.
He's dealing right now with the king. The king who tells him, Avram, if you want to see the book, you can sit next to me, or you could just stay there. You could just listen. Yeah. So, the king tells the rabbi, listen, I've tried to disprove you using the Indians. Clearly it's not working so well. So I will try to disprove you using the Greek philosophers. Can you tell me that they're stupid? Can you tell me that they're unorganized? Can you tell me that we shouldn't rely on them? To which the rabbi says the following. Amar Chaver, and the rabbi says, HaPhilosophim en la'ashimutan. You cannot blame the philosophers for their mistaken beliefs. Mipnei shehem am shelo nachalu chokhmah velo Torah. They're a nation that did not receive any wisdom or divine wisdom. Mipnei shehem yivanim. For the very simple reason is because they're Greek. So,
what?
Do you remember what we explained this to me the other week, 2 weeks ago?
Well, the Greeks derived in. You're asking what? Why we don't trust because they're Greek?
Because they're Greeks.
So inherently they don't have wisdom, just what they got later on.
They didn't have their own individual wisdom. They borrowed it from.
Oh, everything is
They imported everything, but nothing is originally theirs. I think, yeah, we said that.
Well, we said that the Greeks don't have their own philosophy.
Yeah.
They don't have their own philosophy. The Greeks are people who pretty much inherited inheritances of inheritances. They studied philosophy in other places and brought it back.
Yeah.
But they're not a nation of original philosophers, and you therefore find that after the Greeks, the philosophy didn't continue. Because they didn't have someone to give it off to, because they weren't a people that people were coming to study from. The Greeks were kind of the last plagiarists in history, at least of the philosophers. And therefore, I can't blame them for their mistaken ideas. It's not a part of them. It's not a part of them to be a philosopher. This is something that they've done on their own, that they've taken from somewhere else. And then it continues and says, V'yavan mibnei Yefet hashochnim b'tzafon, and Yavan are from the children of Yefet, who live in the north. V'achochma sheyerusha me'adam, and wisdom which comes from Adam, v'hi chochma muchzeket b'koach Elohim. And this is divinely inspired wisdom. Einena ki'im bezera Shem, is only in the descendants of Shem. Shehi Segulat Noach, which is the chosen of Noach.
Yeah, but Yefet also come from Noah.
But not so does Ishmael come from Avraham. Doesn't make him the chosen one.
Okay.
But again,
it goes back to the rabbi's statement in 147.
Yes.
I don't know which is.
Do you remember we studied this together? Remember I went through the whole history of Shem and compared the history of Shem to the history of Avraham Avinu and the Jewish people? Mm-hmm. Remember I compared the history of Shem, the people of Shem. There was a land of Ever, that's why we're called Ivrim. It was a whole nation. They went through a Holocaust by Nimrod. Do you remember this class? Yeah? And therefore Shem, we prove Shem are the people that have a direct connection to Segula Elohim, to this divine wisdom. Nobody else. Nobody else.
Why did he not share the wisdom with his other two sons?
It's not a matter of sharing or not sharing. This is something that you have to be built in your DNA for. Some children come out capable of some things, and some are not. The same reason why Ishmael is a child of Avraham Avinu, but compared to Yitzchak, he's a clown. Compared to Yitzchak, he's a nobody.
A big troublemaker.
More than a trouble. He didn't reach the level of potential that Yitzchak did. Yitzchak and Ishmael, you put them on a scale. I mean, Ishmael is already in a different planet. He doesn't know what to do with himself. There's no Yitzchak is looking at him. He can't even see his feet from where he's standing. It's a different level. Shem is the same thing. Shem is the continuation of Noach. He received something from Adam. There was someone who took it upon himself. That's why the people of Shem lived where? In the land of Ever. They had their own place alone. And when they were exiled from Ever, Nimrod tries to kill them. Nimrod wages a Holocaust against them. And as we know, Nimrod ends up killing a third of the people of Shem. Like in the Holocaust. A third of Am Yisrael. 6 million out of 18 million. And then the people try to go back. Avraham Avinu says, Lech Lecha. He goes to Eretz Israel. Who did he try to bring with him? Who's his brother?
His brother?
No. What?
Nachor, who's living where?
What is his nephew?
Nephew. Living where?
Haran.
Haran. What's in Haran? That's the place where Avraham Avinu made nefashot. Ur Kasdim, the fire of Kasdim was where they started. That's why they were running away from the fires. Like the fires in the Shoah. Again, we gave a whole class about this. They come to Nachor, and they tell the people, we want you to go to Israel. And what do they say? We don't need it. Here we made nefashot. Here we have yeshivas. Here we have kollel. Here we have Jewish organizations. We're the people of Shem, but we're in exile. Only Avraham Avinu realizes the need to go to Eretz Yisrael. To go to Eretz Yisrael. And truthfully, his father tries to come with, and ends up not going. Because the pitui of staying in Chutz La'aretz was the seduction of staying in Chutz La'aretz was too much for him. And only Avraham Avinu makes it back. Back to the land of Ever, like the Jewish people. It's the same history.
Eretz Israel is Ever?
Ever.
Interesting. So basically that's where they started.
That's where it all began. That's where it all began. We consider the people of Shem.
Abraham's origin is not Bavel, is actually Eretz Israel.
Well, where he was born was Bavel, but
right,
where he comes from are from the people of Evel.
Well, that makes sense because Adam and Chava were originally placed in Gan Eden, which was in Israel. Even when they were exiled outside of Israel, but right there.
Right.
Remember we said that Shem names his son. Remember what he names his son?
Oh, it's in here somewhere.
I'll tell you.
Shem. Yonatan.
Right, he names,
Yeah. Something kashur with nevuah.
somebody would want
Peleg. He names him Peleg. They say, why Peleg? Because he already sees there's going to be Dora Pelaga. But the guy, how did he know? So we say that Shem already had nevuah. Right. Shem was one of the first prophets. I mean, you see already by Shem that there's something innately about the people of Shem who are connected to divine wisdom. And I think this is something we have to clarify here.
Where did you see it on page?
We taught it over in a class.
I know.
70. It's around the area of 77.
75. It says 4,000. Then the sun shesh. Oh, this is down the sun. Okay, go all the way down.
It's also the reason why the people of Shem spoke which language?
Hebrew.
Which was?
Ivrit.
Ivrit. From the land of Ever. It's a language that they spoke there. This is the whole people that history kind of skips over. But we are very much connected to. These are the predecessors of Am Yisrael. In a little bit more of a rugged, raw power, but still like that. And I think here's where we have to understand something. See, Judaism is not racism.
It's not what?
Racism. Not racism. I'll explain to you what I mean. We consider Am Yisrael, at least in the eyes of the Kuzari. I cannot speak for the difference in the Ramchal and the Rambam and the different teachers of Hashkafa and Machshevet Yisrael. But at least according to Rabbi Yoni Halevy, the Kuzari, Am Yisrael is the choicest of all the people in the world. We are the elite. We are the elite. There's nothing to be politically correct about. It's just a fact that just like a tree has a brown part and a green part, the world has a Jewish part and a non-Jewish part. Which one's better? They need each other, obviously.
But why do you say it's better?
I'm not afraid of the term better.
No, but I always think, like someone told me that her daughter is dating a Chinese. So I said, but, like, not Jewish. So she says, who says we are better?
That's not what you said.
I said, we're different.
So I'm not speaking to the lady who's dating a Chinese person. And she needs to hear something that is going to appeal to her senses. I'm speaking to people who have chosen to be a part of Am Nifchar. And I'll tell you, my wife and I spoke about it today. About somebody, how can someone marry or date a non-Jew? It's only out of their lack of appreciation and understanding about what their power as a Jew is.
I understand,
Yes,
but
completely.
Am Sgula doesn't mean we're better. It means we have the potential.
Oh, sure. I'm not
To
telling
rise.
you that a Jew who just has a country club and his last name is Goldman and that's all that's Jewish about him is better than a non-Jew. That's not what I'm saying. You're right. In potential, he has the capacity and the power innately inside of him, born inside of him, to be able to become something greater than he is right now.
Sgula, doesn't it come from the word, the Sholosh Mesugal?
Misugal, able.
Right, able.
But that means that somebody else is not Misugal, is not able.
In the area that we were supposed to be
Right.
fulfilling our
But if the area that makes us great is to be the closeness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm not afraid to tell you that's what makes a person great. Somebody who's not connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu is not great. Powerful, maybe. Egotistical, maybe. Wealthy, maybe. But great, they're not great. They're not great. A person cannot be great without Kadosh Baruch Hu because he's the greatest in the whole world. And he's the only one who has the right to say what is great and what is not great. So maybe now we're standing a little bit. So why were the Nazis wrong? Why were the Nazis wrong? I mean, the whole concept of the Jewish people being the best is what bothered them. They were the best. The Aryan race was the best. And when we speak about Am Yisrael being the chosen people, the first thing they tell you sound like a Nazi. That's what they tell you. How could you tell the world that you're better than them?
You're not really saying that. You're saying we were chosen to take the Torah and to teach the world about spirituality connected to Hashem.
I'm not-
And you're
I'm
not
not-
saying you're going to kill anybody else who's not.
I'm not telling you, in Shavuot, I always give my class about the difference. What does Am Yisrael mean?
Yeah.
But again, here, in the world of Rabbi Yoni Halevy, we are the choicest. We are the elite. Use whatever word you'd like to use that fits in your head. But that's what we're saying. When you say that you're the elite, you're saying that someone else is not the elite. And it's a sticky, sticky subject.
No, it's really not. It's very simple because when Lahavdil, Hitler, Yimach Shemo, or even take any religion that creates exclusivity, it works on excluding other people and there's no entrance.
Wait, don't cut my shirt in half.
Oh, okay.
So essentially, a person has to understand this, though, that we consider ourselves as the elite of mankind. Period. We don't have to apologize for being Yehudim. We are the descendants of Avraham Avinu, who's the descendant of Shem, who's the descendant of Noach, who's the descendant of Adam, who saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have the Torah that was given to us by Moshe Rabbeinu. We're the only people in the world who have such a history. Mm-hmm. Everyone else's history stops somewhere and then emerges into our history. At the end of the day, the Jews were the first monotheistic religion in the world. The only ones who believed in Hashem. And for that we were chased, and we were persecuted, and we were run out of every country in the world. Until when did the world stop persecuting us for being monotheists?
Never.
They did.
When the Christians came.
When the Christians came along. See, the Christians were also persecuted for being monotheists, at least at that time. And only when the Roman government stopped persecuting the Catholic Church and actually became Catholic, did the whole idea of monotheism become now a universal thing. Now millions of people around the world believe in one God, even as flawed as their concept of one God might be. So they persecuted us for something else, whatever else came to their mind. You just have a son, right? And the Holy Ghost. Don't forget about the Holy Ghost. Nobody knows what he does, but he's there, right? So when it comes back to our story, are we really racist?
No. You're not.
Yes,
No.
yes, because you
Don't look
said
at me. Fight at each other. What
that
do
the
you?
Jewish people are different than any other nation, then it's race.
It's not. It's a definition of being
Why? No.
But
Racism, you think racism is
so
a
what does
negative
racism
thing.
mean? I said to say what it means.
I'm saying we belong to the Jewish race, to the
Okay.
DNA of of Judaism.
But racism, as it's practiced practically in the world, is exclusionary and says, "I'm good, you're not. We have to get rid of you."
No.
No.
That's how it's
I'm
practiced.
good.
Racism doesn't mean that I have to get rid of you.
Right.
If you hate blacks, if you hate Jews, if you hate
Racism
No,
is
no,
not
no, no.
inherently hating
If
someone
I
else.
love myself, it doesn't mean I hate someone else.
Okay, but that's not how racism is practiced.
Oh, because
today.
people
Something else.
don't know how to practice racism properly.
Right.
But you're talking
Thank
about-
God, Marlene, thank God. I know this sounds like a crazy class to have, right? That's on record. Oh, Hashem Yishmo. Okay? People don't know how to be racist with derech eretz.
Of
Okay.
course not.
Okay? I agree. It's like socialism. Socialism might be a good concept, but it never played out right.
It doesn't work.
It makes more sense than democracy, but it never played out right. It never played out right. Because the people who were socialists they were just using it all for their own good. And killing people and corrupting people and stealing from people. The same as the people who use democracy to pretend that the world is a better place. The same. The same. Don't worry. One day in history we're going to go down the ball. Can you believe those idiots who believed in democracy? You know, like the socialists and the communists and the monarchists and everyone else in history.
Well, Moshiach will come and it'll be okay.
And maybe he'll be a Democrat also. Who knows? Who knows, right? You never know, right? But essentially, a person has to think about it this way. My wife said this is the key. You know, if the Nazis come to kill anybody who's not an Aryan, so how do you opt into the Aryan club? How do you save yourself?
You have to be blonde,
can't.
blue-eyed, and
can't.
sound like a Jew.
You can.
You can't.
They.
You can't. You cannot suddenly miraculously become blonde hair, blue
No.
eyes, fair skin. You can't do it.
No.
Can't do it. That's racism. We're the elite, and just because that's the way we were born. And there's no way to join this club, and the only way to join this club would be to die and come back again as part of the club. But you can't be a part of this club at all. See, Judaism, though, is not the same thing. In Judaism, the entire establishment of conversion is a realization of the fact that being part of the elite chosen people is not just something you are born with. When you are born with a potential. It's like a radio. You buy in the store a radio, until you put in the batteries, it cannot be a radio. It's a radio, but it cannot pick up a signal. You have to put in batteries for it to pick up a signal. It has to be connected to something to put in a signal. You have a lot of Jews in the world that are radios without batteries. So that means that if I would put batteries in them, suddenly they'd be a radio. But right now, without the batteries, they look like a radio, they have a last name like a radio, they're labeled like a radio, but they don't talk like a radio, they don't make sounds like a radio, they're not radios. Just technically. You know many such Jews. And they get on this high horse of we're part of the Jewish country club. It's not a country club. Because let me tell you, my friends, you can be born Jewish and have just a radio without batteries. And the guy that comes along and says, listen, I don't have a radio, but I have the batteries. I really want to connect to Am Yisrael. I really want to become Jewish. I really want to become a child of Shem, of Ever, of Avraham Avinu, of Moshe Rabbeinu. The answer to him is yes. You can. You can. You should know that the early sources of the Gemara, we don't reject the person who comes to convert. It's only later in history we added this whole concept of rejection. The play that they bring you from Megillat Ruth is cute, but it's not the source.
Yeah, but
It's not the
back
source.
Then, those who wanted to convert really wanted to convert.
Those who wanted to convert were crazy. Why would you want to convert? Somebody who came to convert in the middle of the Inquisition,
Oh.
you don't ask him questions. Because why in the world why would you want to be Jewish now? The only reason you could want to be Jewish is for something good. That's part of the questions when someone converts. What do they ask them?
Why?
Why? And they say, well, let me ask you a different question. If it were to be, the Jewish people were to go through a Holocaust again,
Oh, God.
would you willingly become part of the Jewish people? If the answer to that question is yes, we convert them. And if the answer to that question is no, it doesn't make a difference how much they know. If they're not ready, they don't want to be a part of Am Yisrael, really. It's for that reason, by the way, that when faced with the problem of conversions in the Israeli army, and many rabbis were opposed because the standards of conversion in the Israeli army, let me tell the truth, on record, they're not so high. They're not so high. You don't have to know so much to become converted by the Israeli army rabbinic court. When Chacham Ovadia was asked, part of the logic that went into it was, these are people who are willing to give up their lives to support Jewish people in the land of Israel.
That's right.
That's the answer to the question of, would you convert in the middle of a war? Would you convert in the middle of hard times? It's not so fun to be Jewish when you're in the front lines in Gaza. And using that, and the standards the rabbinic courts used, Chacham Ovadia said all the converts in Tzahal are Jewish. Where some rabbis, like Rav Elyashiv and those among him, refused to accept these people as Jews. Refused to accept these people as Jews. Chacham Ovadia is right. This is how it goes. This is how you understand if someone's really Jewish. So in essence, we're not excluding anybody. All we're saying is that the Jewish people are born radios without batteries. They're born radios without batteries. They have the potential to become connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in ways that nobody else has. And like we spoke before, how can it be that in one place, the Talmud tells us that the Gerim are righteous, the Gerim are amazing, the Gerim are holy. In other places, it says that Kashim Gerim kasapachat, like a skin affliction.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
Who
skin
says
affliction.
that?
The Gemara says that.
Why?
Oh.
Because
So remember what we said. Remember what we said then in the class. I don't want any other answers. The reason we said there was the first language uses a ger tzedek, a righteous convert. When a person picks up on his own and says, I want to convert, this person is the most righteous in the whole world. But when people come kashim gerim in a plural language, it's not a person who wants to convert. It's a whole group of people that collectively want to just jump into the Jewish people. They're kashim kasapachat. What is a sapachat? It's something that grows on your skin.
can't get rid of
It's not a part of your skin. It doesn't want to be in your skin. It wants to be on top of your skin. It wants to be part of you, but still have their own heritage, their own mentality, their own worldview. It's like people who converted in our history. Give me an example. Who converted? Maybe around Sefer Yoshua. I'm making it up. The Kutim. You know who the Kutim are?
Oh,
Who are the Kutim?
I don't know.
There's the two girls that came out of Sodom with their father.
No. That's the Bailot. The Kutim, they were people who converted because they were terrified of the Jewish people. And they, as a whole people, jumped up and converted to Judaism. But throughout the times of the Mishnah and the Talmud, V'rabim me'amei haaretz mitziahadim. Sure. Ki nafal pachad mod, very nice. Ki nafal pachad mod chayrev. You find many times that the whole people collectively convert, and those people run away. Like where else in our history?
So why would
Think the golden calf.
right.
Very nice. The Erev Rav. Who were the Erev Rav? They were not single people who wanted to convert. Very nice, Erev. Because they were close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They wanted to be close to Moshe Rabbeinu. They were people who joined the Jewish people out of which cause?
Fear.
And they didn't want to end up like Paul. They wanted to run away. And therefore says the Gemara, Kashem Gerim, in plural. If the reason to convert is as a nation, we just want to get away from something, that's not a good enough reason.
So why are we allowed to convert? I mean, today we make it so difficult for someone to convert.
I don't agree with the system that you convert people in. It shouldn't be so difficult to convert people.
But it is.
Unfortunately. It's like why the food has hechsher but it's not kosher. The same thing. It's a corruption of our rabbinic establishment. At its very best. Especially converts who for years and years and years try to convert them, just because of politics they don't convert them. We're aware. It's the whole system. I spoke about this on Monday night. It needs to be revamped. Our entire Jewish rabbinic system is in the dumps. And we have to pick it up. Not because we're angry, not because we don't think it has any hope, because we're optimists. Because we think that there's a lot that can be done and we need to do it. That part of it is changing around the system of conversion. Not changing. Taking it back to halakha. There are things that a ger is demanded from in halakha. And there are things that a ger is not demanded in halakha that we demand from them. But we have to figure out what those things are at the direction of the Gdolei Yisrael, and then to make sure that those things happen properly in every rabbinic court. Let's what time is it? Do you have a few more minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
Very late. Yeah.
So, says the following. So I was just clarifying. We're not racists. Anybody can join Am Yisrael. A person wants to. All they have to do is ask. To ask. We don't exclude. We don't have a mitzvah anywhere in the Torah to wipe out the goyim. We don't have a mitzvah anywhere in the Torah to persecute people who are not Jewish. Hafuch. If you look at our mitzvot, the Shulchan Aruch, and the Rambam, how you're supposed to treat a goy, you're supposed to treat a goy like a normal human being. We don't differentiate between a person who's a Jew and a person who's not a Jew. We do sometimes differentiate between a person who's a Jew and a person who's not a Jew and a person who is an Oved Avodah Zarah. Someone who is an active idol worshiper. An idol worshiper has no place in the land of Israel. He wants to travel around the world. He can go to whatever country in the world he wants. Not in Eretz Yisrael. Think about it. And the chief idol worshiper of the whole world is coming to visit Israel. Yeah. So it's not. You can't say no. There's a ninan of shlom shel malchut. You have peace in the kingdom. You have to let someone come in. But we should remember that walking through the streets of Yerushalayim is going to be a person who is the biggest pagan in the whole world. The Pope who sits in the Vatican, his whole life is paganism. So maybe this one's a good Pope, it's a better Pope, it's there's a better Satan. There's a better one. He did good things, I'm aware. He's a humble person, maybe, I'm aware, I don't know him. Yeah, he's moved some things forward in regards to Jewish relations. Wonderful. That makes 3 popes out of over 600 popes. 3 popes who had any good connection to the Jewish people. The Catholic Church has yet to apologize to us for their lack of work during the Holocaust. We had single priests, people who took it under their wing because they were devoutly religious and they really believed in God. But you had the majority of the Catholic Church, the establishment, and they're still there. Some of the people who were there then are still in the Catholic Church today. And they haven't yet stood up, and Germany has done it. The Catholic Church still hasn't, so we don't have to fool ourselves. But you have to think about it. The fact that the Eretz Yisrael is coming to visit a pagan, where is he visiting even? He's visiting all of his holy sites. We have churches in the land of Israel. Churches that are paganist. Plenty of churches. I'm not saying tomorrow we're supposed to bulldoze them. No. But we're supposed to bring the world to an awareness of Hashem, in which people will say, listen, I'm in the land of Israel. If I have my own dirty laundry, my own garbage to believe in, I'll do it, but it's not in Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to do it somewhere else. Not because you're throwing anybody out. We're not putting people on trucks and shipping them out. But we're trying to bring the world an awareness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Understand there's only one Hashem, and by default, these people will get up and walk away. By default. That's how it's supposed to work. U'malah ha'aretz de'a'et Adonai. This is what it says. The world will be full with an understanding of Hashem. Not that you throw people. Understanding. Once you understand Hashem, so you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Someone once asked me how we're going to build the Beit HaMikdash. There's a dome of the rock on top of the Beit HaMikdash. So some people believe the Beit HaMikdash is going to fall out of heaven. Okay, listen, if it happens, I won't say no. But I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but some of the prophecies talk about the major earthquake.
Okay, I hope there's not going to be a major earthquake either, because that means many Jews are going to be killed. Rather, very simple to me is that the world will have to reach a place of mamash understanding Hashem. We'll have to bring Eretz Yisrael to a state of consciousness where the whole world understands there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu in the world. And the Muslims themselves, when they see the beauty of Am Yisrael, the beauty, I know this sounds crazy, the beauty of Torah Yisrael, the beauty of Hashem, one Hashem, they're not only going to help us build the Beit HaMikdash, they're going to take apart their mosque and say, come, we want you to build the Beit HaMikdash here.
That's what Rabbi Nissel basically was saying when he was speaking on Tuesday night. He was giving a shiur about Moshiach, and from the perspective of Rambam, and it was of like lines, and he was saying, when Moshiach comes, that they will be immediately saying, all of them, no matter where they are, that they love the Jews and everything.
So I don't know this, Rabbi, and I don't want to argue, but Mashiach, two things. Mashiach has already begun to come.
Oh, okay, it could be.
And there is no miraculous moment in history that Mashiach will come and everything will change.
So it's a process.
It will never happen.
Right, but there will be a time where a person will appear.
Sure, but that doesn't, this Mashiach coming in isn't going to transform the whole world overnight.
You're hearing it from me. These are not
No, I'm not, guys, I'm not saying anything about him.
No.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Now, I know my wife's laughing again because it's the Rambam's approach to the way Mashiach. Okay, so I can do the Rambam. Who's greater for me than the Rambam? What can I say? The Rambam is the only person who ever codified for us Hechot Beit HaMikdash, Hechot Mashiach. Who else wrote a book, The Laws of Mashiach? Nobody else. So Mashiach is going to come. Whose halachot is he going to have to follow? He can't start a new Torah. Mashiach has to follow someone's halachot. He's going to have to follow the Rambam's halachot. Very simple.
Well, it sounds good.
Okay, so the Rambam's halachot, they seem much simpler, but you can't rely on miracles. You know, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, his whole push, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to reach the whole world. Why was he pushing so hard? Like, he could do what every other rabbi in the world does. He sits back in his chair, when Mashiach comes, it'll be good. Because the Lubavitcher Rebbe knew it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You have to bring Mashiach.
Yes.
Not bring the person. Not the person who's going to come whenever he feels like coming. Whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ephraim Mishichi, come. Rather, Mashiach will come when we bring the world to an awareness of Mashiach.
That's what he was saying.
And we have a lot of work to do, because we're not doing it. We're barely reaching the Jewish community. You know how many non-Jews are in the world that need to leave their respective religions? They don't have to be Jewish. Just to understand that there's a God in the world. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, one of his big fights, do you know what his biggest fight in this country was? It was not a Jewish fight. There's a day in Congress named after the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Education Day USA. It's like in November sometime. The Lubavitcher Rebbe pushed for Congress to take Christmas out of public schools. He claimed if you're truly public schools, then you should not be teaching religion. And if you're teaching religion, you shouldn't teach paganism.
Whoa.
And he said you should not teach Christmas in public schools. And there was a push in Congress to pass it, and it didn't happen because this country is predominantly Christian. And I don't know that I would say we should fight against the Christians in their schools to get rid of Christianity. But essentially, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said it's not enough to worry about the Jews. You have to worry about the Christians not believing in Avodah Zarah also. That's also your responsibility. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said, listen, you guys, when you're at a restaurant, you have to sit down with non-Jews also. Tell them about the Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach. It might sound crazy, but I have in my house a 2-volume Shulchan Aruch called the Shulchan Aruch Livnei Noach. When someone asks you a question, they're not Jewish, you have to look it up inside the book. Non-Jews have to have a siddur also. They also have to pray. So who wrote a siddur for them? The person has to think about these things. You have to transform the whole world. And again, we're going to stop here tonight because if I keep going to the next part, we have a whole nother shiur for next week.
Wow.
But again, next week is not Shavuot. We have time.
No,
Okay.
it's not that.
Says, to wrap this up, we are descendants not just of Shem. Shem is a great person. So was Adam Rishon. We're descendants of Avraham Avinu. We are separate from the world because we are Bnei Avraham. We are also the children of Moshe Rabbeinu. Alav Shalom. And we have to understand that we are not simple people. And we have a mission in this world. And the mission is not just to worry about myself. And not just to worry about my family, but to worry about the entire world. And you see that Jews, and you spoke about they're born like radios without batteries. Jews don't even understand themselves. Because Jews don't understand why they're all Nobel Prize winners. Jews don't understand why they're on the cutting edge of education and technology and science and government and fraud and insurance, scams and all kinds of other things. They don't know why. The reason is very simple. Because in their DNA is built, you must change the world. The reason why the whole world can believe, if someone smacks in the back, oh, you believe in Jesus? No. I'm Jewish. Oh, that's so great. Jesus was Jewish also. Are you stupid? Your God was Jewish and you're not Jewish? You're a Christian? What does that mean even? But they don't think that far. But the whole world can sit down and agree that their God is Jewish. Why does that make sense to the Goyim, says the Kuzari? Because the whole world really believes in the power of a Jew. They're terrified of it. They're scared of it. But they also believe in it.
Why are they scared of it?
Because, unfortunately, they're afraid. The people who have power have always been corrupt.
We've never done anything to them.
Yet. They don't know that. No, they don't know. I assure you have to reassure them. We don't want to rule over the world. We want to transform the world. And the way to do that, by the way, believe it or not, is to leave Chutz La'aretz and go to Israel. That's how the poskim tell us. Only from Israel. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Only from Zion can come out Torah. Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim. The word of Hashem from Yerushalayim. It doesn't come from Chutz La'aretz. You can't spread out Judaism in Chutz La'aretz. You can't. Not to the non-Jews. Because the non-Jews look at you and say, what are you doing in my country telling me how to live my life? Do you want to really live a life like that? Go to Israel. Live a life like that. We'll copy you. You can't do it here. You can't sit in someone else's house and tell them how they should run their own house. You could sit in your house and invite them in. Come check out how I live my life. That's the way to do it. And to sum it up, we have a divine koch inside of us. And I suggest maybe for you, there's an English, a nosach, also I have it in Hebrew, a letter the Rambam wrote to Ovadia Hager, Ovadia the convert, and the titles that he gives him, and the praises that he gives him for becoming part of Am Yisrael. He says, not only can you say, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu, my God and my God of my forefathers, he said, but you must. You must, because this is really your father. Avraham Avinu is really your father. Just the fact that you've converted to Judaism, that shows that your father was Avraham Avinu. That's what it shows. Because you have the koach, you have the courage to stand up against the tides and to say, I'm believing in something different. And you'll see, someone who's a real ger tzedek, the things they go through, the fights they have to fight, you should just stand in awe. And that's the reason why 3 times a day we say, that Hashem should put al tzedikim, v'al chasidim, v'al ziknem chab Yisrael, v'al gerei tzedek v'aleinu. We want our portion to be like the gerei tzedek. What does that mean, like the gerei tzedek? We want that our children should not just be tzedikim and chasidim, but they should have the courage, they should have the passion that gerei tzedek do. And we have to transform the world, and to realize that we are not racists. As the Kuzari will say, we are kilev sheba'umot. We are the heart of the world. We don't want to be the whole world. We don't want to run the whole world. The heart is not the organ that controls the whole world. The heart is simply the organ that
Gives life.
just pumps life. All we want is to pump good into the world. The brain can do whatever it wants. The arms can do whatever it needs to do. We don't want to control the world. We don't want to be elite and rule over everybody else. All we want is to be a heart, a healthy heart, that can pump clean, pure blood into the whole world. B'ezrat Hashem, it can happen soon.